Hi, everyone. My name is Jessica with fulfilledandabundant.com, and today I bring to you Julie. Julie is an amazing midlife reinvention coach and author. She has a wide range of experience that she brings to you as your coach. I have a lot of notes since so Julie has been a teacher. She's worked in hospitality and in academia as a learning and development leader. And now you bring all of this to your clients as a midlife reinvention coach. So let's start with the first question. You have a ton of experience in a wide array of things. What is the through line in your career?
Oh, that's a great question. So I think with all of my iterations, I've reinvented myself many times. So that's why I feel like I make a good reinvention coach. But I think there's three things. One is all of my positions have been about really educating people, and it might be just educating them to use new skills or new resources or new tools. But it's all been about educating. Secondly, it's all about helping people learn and grow and kind of reach their full potential. Obviously I learned a lot I was at UC Berkeley for 13 years as a learning and development leader and designed programs for leaders all over the world. And I learned a lot about how people learn and, what helps people to change their habits and behaviors. And so I want to bring that wealth of information to my clients in my coaching practice. And then thirdly is I love to build things. So I feel like whether it's, when I was in the hospitality industry, I was building an event for our members, or when I was at UC Berkeley at the High School of Business, we were building programs for leaders all over the world. And now it's a little different, but with coaching clients, basically you're getting them to imagine their desired future and then take steps to build their way to it. So I think those are the three common through lines.
Nice. How amazing.
Yeah, it's exciting.
And what are common challenges that your clients come to you with, either brand new or ones that you've been working with?
So I work with women of all ages, but I'm focusing a lot on women in midlife because I think, midlife is a really interesting time. Anybody, 40 and over knows that the perception of women in society starts to change. And on one hand, you've got all this great experience and knowledge, and you really want to do something to impact the world. And then on the other hand, there's a lot of messages, even in 2022, that you're getting close to your expiration date and you're going to have to hang up your shingle. So I work with women to kind of push aside those societal things and really start to believe in themselves and what they want, and just really go after what they want. And so a lot of it is, just feeling, they might be feeling invisible, they might be feeling less relevant, they might be feeling, a lot of people pre-COVID and now post-COVID even more, feeling tremendous burnout. Or, they've been in a corporate job for 20, 30 years and they're bored, and they know that there's something inside them that, wants to blossom and that they could be doing bigger things, but they don't quite know how to do it. Mm-hmm. And so we start there, and we just start wherever they are and take it from there.
Nice. That's exciting. So what would be a good next step for somebody that is starting to feel the burnout or boredom? Because I think both are linked. They just show up in different ways. But they're just now recognizing, I think, I don't know, but I think I need something else. You know, because the beginning is like a lot of denial.
Yeah, a lot of denial. Well, I think as women, you know, we're great problem solvers, so we're always trying to figure out like, how can we make this work? Oh, let's take another class, or let's try this a different way. But sometimes it just is time. It's time to try something new. And so I think the first step is to really kind of go deep inside and think of what are my desires. And it's often the fear that keeps telling us, no, just keep trying to make it work, because we feel like, well, I don't really know what it's going to look like. So that's terrifying. So I'm just going to stop myself there. And so I really try to work with women to, you know, connect with their desires, but then, you know, and connect with their fear, because, you know, the fear is there for a reason. We have fears to keep us safe, but we also don't want to live our lives, you know, according to our fears. So I think the first step is really to get in touch with your desires. And the next step is to recognize what the fears are, and then start, you know, little by little talking to your fears, saying, you know, well, yeah, I understand you're afraid of this, but what if this other thing could happen? And let's just try this. And I always say, you know, if you think of something as an experiment, it might be so scary, like, you know, even if you're still in your job, your 9 to 5, and you think, well, I'm just going to try to get one client, or I'm going to try to, you know, write a magazine article or something. It might be scary if you think of it in terms of like, I'm going to do this new thing. But if you think, well, let's just try this experiment. Mm. And I think that's why, like, you know, people are always really good at these like 21-day challenges or something, because it's that experimentation phase. So I think the first step would be just, you know, like once you've gotten in touch with your desires and your fears, then think, how can I make this into an experiment that doesn't feel too daunting?
Awesome. I think that was a good chunk of insight, recognizing that your desperation, forcefulness, commitment to making it work is driven by fear.
It is, yeah. Yeah, we're so good at, and you know, I think women are just so good at always like coming up with another solution. And sometimes that's great, but sometimes it's also what's getting in our way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's such a nuanced thing. And so working with somebody to mirror the nuance and to be able to hold space and reflect back is so powerful. So amazing.
Yeah. I think that's a really important thing that you just said, is that sometimes it's hard to recognize in our own selves. And, you know, we often will, like I said, keep going to the next solution or distract ourselves. And I think as women, you know, also we are often involved in taking care of so many other people. So it's hard to kind of stop and think about what do we really need. So sometimes it's very helpful to have someone else, like you said, holding the mirror and say, okay, well, you said you wanted this, but now you're going off and taking care of this person or that person.
Amazing. And I know personally, okay, so we forgot to say how I know you.
That's right. Yeah.
So I know Julie through a mutual friend that is one of my close friends, Kat from The Simplified Life. And so Julie is a mutual connection, and I've gotten to know Julie over a couple years, and I do know that you travel quite a bit for fun and for work. And so how has your international experience influenced your career?
Yeah, that's a really great question. Well, first of all, I love traveling. So it's always a joy to travel to other countries. And I've also lived in Italy for 3 years, and France for a year, and Spain for a year. And I feel like that anytime you either travel internationally or live internationally, it helps you to open up your mind to other perspectives. And I feel like that's really helped me a lot in, working with clients, whether it was at the university or now with my coaching practice, to really understand that, whether we're from the same country or from different countries, there's a lot of commonalities that, there's common struggles, but then there's so many different points of view. And I think it's really important to be able to, as a coach and as a leader, be able to understand that there's so many different ways that people, understand information, receive information, behave. I think it helps a lot so that I can understand and not, and help people, really meet them where they are. But also, like I said, know that we all have it doesn't matter where you live in the world, or, what color your skin is, or if you're a man or woman. I feel like we all have very, very similar challenges.
Yeah.
And opportunities.
Yes, there's always an opportunity. And I was reading your books. You are a recent co-author to 2 books, which is amazing. The first book is Authentic, Courageous Humans Who, sorry, I'm looking down because I'm reading my notes. So,
oh yeah, it's a long title.
Courageous Humans Who Changed Their Lives by Rewriting Their Stories. And the second book, Creating Success. Entrepreneurs and changemakers share wisdom on achieving success on your own terms. So I really enjoyed reading both of these. I thought the way you wrote was so authentic and enjoyable to read. It was like talking to you.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun writing both of them. They're both multi-author books. So, what that means is that several authors, and they were from all over the world, which is really cool. We all had it, the first one was about being authentic, and then the second one was about creating success. And we all had the theme, but that was basically all the information they gave us. And then we wrote stories. We didn't see each other's stories until we ended up purchasing the books, until they were published. And it was a great experience. And I feel like through those, I've always liked writing, but I didn't write for many years. I think working at the university, in some ways I kind of lost, I would obviously write for work, but I lost sort of my voice because it can be intimidating working with these very well-renowned professors. And so I wasn't really writing a lot for myself. And all of a sudden I had an opportunity, first with Authentic and then with Creating Success, to write. And so I kind of found my voice, and it's been a really great journey to find my voice again. And now I'm really back into writing and want to write more and more.
Yay, good. Yeah. And so what stood out to me when I was reading Creating Success is the common paradigm that we already addressed, is being too old. And I'm curious, where do you think the idea of being too old, is in quotations, originated from?
Oh, that's so interesting. Well, because in so many other cultures, when you're older, you're seen as having a lot of wisdom and people give you respect. And unfortunately, to a large degree, that's missing in this culture. So I'm guessing it comes from the fact that, in the United States and a lot of Western countries, we're valued for being productive. And I guess at a certain age, it seems to be random, but, people decide that you're not as productive or you're not as relevant. And the way that this story evolved in For Creating Success, the one that I wrote, was because I had talked to a professor once and wanted to get some job advice. And he didn't know my age at the time. I didn't tell him my age, but he said, oh, you better hurry up because companies don't like to hire women over 40. And I was actually not only over 40, but I was over 50 at the time. And I didn't say anything to him, but I was kind of in a state of shock after he said that. First, kind of fear and panic, and then sort of turned into anger, and not so much towards him, but just at the fact that I felt like, why are they putting an age limit on my success or my productivity? So I decided, it stayed with me for many years, and I decided to write about it and kind of question why do we keep doing this? This is the age of Me Too and Black Lives Matters. And why are we still kind of devaluing women? And I don't know the exact statistics, but I'm hoping that now with the Great Resignation, or I don't know, it has many different names, now that it seems like the hiring practices are sort of more in the favor of the employee, at least for the moment. I'm hoping that companies will consider and think about, that actually women in midlife and men in midlife are really good candidates for companies.
Do you think that okay, well, this is going to preface my next question, but do you think that the paradigm that dictates that kind of thinking of labeling anybody as too old it just doesn't work anymore?
I think it doesn't work because, now, first of all, now we're all living much longer, and especially women. Women are living into their 90s, some into the hundreds, and or past 100, and so people are going to be working longer. And I think to say that, a company doesn't want to, I mean, and maybe it was partly this professor, like he was making a generalization, but 40 is a little too young to retire. And I think people nowadays are working at least until their 70s, even also just to maximize your benefits with Social Security. So it doesn't really work. So it's interesting that somehow some of the societal norms or messages haven't quite caught up with the reality. So hopefully, I'm trying to create a movement to, empower women on an individual basis, but also, once I get critical mass, I'd like to kind of start pushing back and saying, hey, that doesn't work anymore.
And what do you think the new paradigm or new paradigms looks like, or what can we do now to change that? Because
in terms of women and work?
Yeah, I mean, you could define it that way, but for anybody, so there's this current mainstream paradigm that exists, and it doesn't work for a lot of people. And so what's a way that we can redefine it? Because we have to change the paradigm. I see a paradigm as like invisible rules that nobody really knows about, but everybody acts by.
Exactly.
So we want to change these. So we have to change the paradigm first to start to change the norms, which changes the rules, which changes
behaviors.
Yeah.
I think there's two ways. So one is, I want more people to start questioning and pushing back, on these rules. And I think this is the perfect time because everything has been disrupted, with the pandemic, like the entire world stopped and the way of working is completely changed. I mean, I read an article that, you know, said that it's probably we're never going to go back to the 5 days of, you know, being in the office anymore. So this is like the perfect time. Everything's shifting. We've got the Black Lives Matters movement. We've got the Me Too movement. A lot of things are being questioned, things that, you know, were taken for granted. And so I think just pushing back and on a, you know, individual level, but also as a community.
Mm-hmm.
And then secondly, unfortunately, I hear so many women, you know, even my friends, who are either in midlife or approaching midlife, and they'll be like, well, nobody is going to want to hire me after 40 or after 50. And I'm like, women, stop saying that. Let's not say that. Let's not reinforce that in each other, because we have the power to change it and create a new paradigm. So yeah, it's a lot about you have to start with yourself. You have to kind of question your inner messaging, and you know, and in my story, I talk a lot about how some of it came from my mother, and you know what she had accepted.
Mm-hmm.
You have to start with yourself, and then with your friends and your, you know, people that you're talking to. If you hear somebody doing that, kind of say, hey, let's not say that. And then also, you know, in a larger context with sort of the society, like let's get a community and organize and say, no, you know, this isn't working anymore.
It's not working.
Yeah.
A lot of people get sick too often because they don't have enough time to self-care and they don't have enough money to pay. It's not working.
Yeah.
Okay, now about Authentic. This book was, I don't want to say too much about it because your story is so sweet, so authentic.
Oh, thank you.
So I love that you shared about your Enneagram, because I know about the Enneagram too, or as well. And I know sometimes in self-growth, you see something and it kind of knocks you down. It feels like you went backwards and like, oh my God, I can't believe that's what they actually were saying. And so I'm curious, what was the pivoting point that began for you to see your weakness as a strength again?
Oh, interesting. Well, I think this story was all about me learning that I didn't have good boundaries. And so I think, you know, sometimes they say it's just the awareness. And I was seeing the way that people were perceiving me in a negative light because I didn't have strong boundaries. But I also then saw how it was wearing me down and not in my best interest. And so I'm not going to say what Enneagram I am, but
no, you can. I'm a 4.
Okay, I'll say. But yeah, so I was a 2, which is the helper, and the helpers all, you know, always, they kind of get off on helping people, but it can, you know, if you're out of balance, and I think I was out of balance, you can go too far. And so in a way it was good to have, like, I saw this on paper, these descriptions, and I saw the description of the healthy 2, the helper, but then I also saw the descriptions of the unhealthy 2, and I saw that I was more in that camp. And so just the awareness made me start to really look deeply at my life and question things. And then, you know, as I started to look at it, I thought, well, maybe I could make some changes. So it was more just really seeing for the first time, seeing myself, because I always thought, well, it's a good thing that I'm the helper. I always thought of it as a positive, but then I saw, well, it is positive, but there's also this negative side. And how can I bring myself more in balance? And then I think, like, once I made just a few minor changes, then, you know, then it's like this cascade effect where you make a couple changes, and then everything starts to change, and you get emboldened by each little small step that you take. So I think that was the pivot. It was in a way, I mean, it wasn't super dramatic. It was just little by little changing things.
Yeah, sometimes it's not. That's awesome. And so what is it like for someone to work with you? If they are like, oh, I really resonate with this, they want to work with Julie. What is your coaching like? What is a package like? Is it one-on-one? Is it like a set structure?
Yeah, so right now I'm doing one-on-one, but I am building a group course. So I actually did a coaching course with the Berkeley Executive Coaching Program. And, I think that coaching is all about helping people find their own solutions. I'm there, like you said, often as a mirror, or I might be asking some, provocative questions, but I'm not, occasionally, if it's around something specific in a career, I might switch into, put on another hat and ask them, can I maybe give you some advice or some resources? But in general, I'm just trying to help people find their own answers, because I don't want to push my agenda on anybody else. And what I provide is a very, very safe container. And, we go through steps. The first step is really, really to connect with your desires. And I think so many women have lost track of what do they really want deep inside, or they get too stuck on the how, like, how is it going to happen? So I can't even think about that because it's too complicated. I'm like, no, let's look at the desire. And then we evaluate everything and we think, what are some of the skills that they bring to the table? What are skills that they could maybe bolster? Or what are some new skills they can gain? Or is it a mindset issue? Is it just around their confidence? And then we strategize together. And then I encourage them to take inspired action. And then a lot of that also is releasing, anything that's getting in the way, any limiting beliefs. And then the last step is to embrace this new life. And it can be difficult, when you kind of are up leveling your life, there's a lot of anxiety that kicks in. And so we have to sometimes work around that. So I didn't really spell it out formally, but my methodology spells desire, because it's like dare to dream. And then we evaluate, then we strategize, then we take inspired action, then we release, and then we embrace the new.
Nice.
Yeah, I love the idea of desire, because I think it's so pivotal to, women, and especially, any age, but I think especially at midlife, sometimes that's the first time that people have been so busy either taking care of kids or, their parents. And it's like the first time they get to come up for air, and often they're just so out of touch with their desires. So I want to always bring them back to, what do you really want and what's making you happy? And it's often very different from, what you wanted in your 20s. It's a very different reality.
Yeah. And shedding the old idea of yourself can be a loss.
Yeah, it's a loss. And then we have to mourn sometimes, even if it's something that wasn't benefiting us. But if we've gotten used to a habit or even a relationship that's not serving us, we do have to let them go, but we also have to take time to mourn and kind of clear the path for the new.
Yeah. Amazing. So if someone wants to work with you, how can they get that ball rolling right now?
So my website, which is still under construction, but soon to be done, is womenwhostayinthegame.com. And you can also connect with me on Instagram or on Facebook. I'll provide that to you, Jessica, so you can share it in the show notes.
Great. And do you offer a free gift or a free initial consultation or anything so that they can get to know you a little bit better? And
great question. Yeah, so I do 30-minute discovery sessions to kind of, and these are sessions where, for some people, they might have a small problem and we can, we'll actually get something done during the session, but it's also so that I can get to know them and they can get to know me and see if it's a good fit and kind of go over more specifics about how I work.
Nice. Exciting. So everyone, I hope that you reach out to Julie because the free 30 minutes costs nothing and you'll probably gain insight. So that's exciting. Last question. What are you most excited about right now?
What am I most excited about? Well, I am launching my website soon. So I'm very excited about that. And then also I'm planning to write a story that I'm going to submit to the New York Times Modern Love column, and we'll see if they accept me, but I'm very excited about that. So those are the two things.
Oh, how exciting.
Yeah.
I can't wait to read it.
Thank you. Yeah, this has been so much fun, Jessica. And I want to say for everyone that Jessica, I worked with Jessica in several different capacities, but Jessica is the reason that I manifested my beautiful living situation. So
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Julie.
Yeah.
Yeah, you manifested it really quick. I think it was 3 weeks after.
Exactly. It was amazing. So.
And it was everything you want. It was so cool.
Yeah.
So, and yeah, your home is beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Julie. I really appreciate you taking the time to share and give insight to anybody that might be at a crossroads, or even if you just have a question. If you're watching this, I encourage you to do a 30-minute call with Julie. I started shopping for coaches about 2 years before I finally found my coach that I work with. And each one gave me a lot of insight. And so if you choose to work with Julie, awesome, you're going to get great results. If not, you're still going to get an insight from that. And that's so worth it.